Hey, welcome. So if you've ever had to design a course or a training session or really just teach anyone anything, you know that having a clear goal from the start is absolutely everything. Today we're going to break down exactly how you can craft those goals into really powerful, practical learning outcomes.
So here's a classic problem, right? We say things all the time like, the goal is for students to understand the topic. But what does understand even mean? How on earth do you grade that? It's super vague for you, and it's just plain confusing for your learners. You know, if the target is blurry, hitting it is pretty much a matter of luck.
The solution here is to get away from those fuzzy goals and get really sharp with learning outcomes. The material from Red River College puts it perfectly. These are specific, measurable statements about what a student can actually do when they're done. This isn't about what you plan to teach, it's all about what they'll be able to prove they can do.
Okay, so how do we actually write one of these things? Well, the good news is you don't have to start from scratch. There's a really simple, repeatable blueprint, a formula really, that you can follow to build a strong, clear learning outcome every single time.
This blueprint has just 3 essential parts. First, you're going to start with an action verb. This is the skill you can actually see and measure. Second, you add the learning statement, which is basically the what, the actual topic. And finally, you give it a purpose or condition. This provides the why or the how, the context for where this skill is going to be used. Now, this is where it all clicks into place. This makes that abstract formula totally concrete. The action verb is design. What are they designing? The learning statement, media-rich presentations. And why? The purpose, to relate business ideas to an audience. See how every single part adds another layer of clarity? There's just no room for guessing there.
Let's really zero in on that first part, the action verb. This thing is the engine of your entire learning outcome. Picking the right one is so crucial. And luckily for us, there's a fantastic tool out there to help us pick the perfect one for whatever job we have in mind.
And that tool is the famous Bloom's Taxonomy. Look, this isn't just guesswork. This framework lays out all the cognitive skills in a pyramid, starting with simple stuff like remembering facts at the bottom, all the way up to complex creation at the very top. So your job is to pick a verb that actually matches the level of thinking you expect. Are you asking them to just remember something, or to analyze a complex idea, or maybe to create something brand new?
So here's the bottom line. You have to ditch those vague, fuzzy verbs like know or understand. Why? Because they're impossible to measure. Instead, you want to grab one of those strong, observable action verbs from Bloom's, like describe, solve, or design. Think about it. If a student can describe it, well, you can be pretty sure they understand it.
All right, so we've got our blueprint and our toolbox. Now, it's time to do a little inspection. Honestly, seeing some strong and weak examples right next to each other is the absolute fastest way to get a real feel for what works and, well, what really doesn't.
Okay, here's a perfect example, the weak one. Understand the principles of effective communication. I mean, how would you even test for that? You can't. But look at that improvement. Explain the 5 principles. Now that is specific. You can literally ask a student to do that on a test or in a presentation. It's just so much clearer, more direct, and totally measurable.
And this slide just brilliantly shows the power of that third piece, the purpose or condition. Communicate effectively is just way too broad. How? Where? But the improved version adds through technical reports and in-person presentations. Bam! Now the learner knows exactly what's expected, and you know exactly what you need to assess.
If you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this quote. This is your ultimate test. Anytime you write a learning outcome, just stop and ask yourself, can I create a test, a project, or some kind of observation that would clearly show me if a student has nailed this? If the answer's no, you've got to go back and revise.
So you've followed the blueprint, you've used the right tools, and you've inspected your own work. Now what? Well, now it's time for the final polish. Let's check out how some modern tech can actually help us take our work to the next level and make sure these outcomes are as rock solid as they can possibly be.
Yeah, just think of it like having an expert co-pilot sitting right next to you. After you've done all the creative work of drafting your outcomes, you can use an AI assistant to run a final quality check. It'll evaluate your work against all the established best practices, and it does it in seconds.
So how does this actually work? Well, it's super simple. You start by just loading your key documents, like an official manual or that Bloom's Taxonomy guide. Then you give the AI a prompt, you paste in the learning outcome you wrote, and just like that, it analyzes it for you. It gives you a really clear verdict. Is it good? Why or why not? And it even gives you suggestions to make it stronger.
Seriously, the process could not be more straightforward. You just select your sources, write your prompt, paste your text, and then review the feedback. It's kind of like having an expert instructional designer on call, ready to give you instant specific advice whenever you need it.
So why is this a big deal? Because it gives you objective feedback, like right away. It makes sure you're totally aligned with proven frameworks, like Bloom's. It can catch those little weaknesses that you might have just overlooked. And really, at the end of the day, it just makes the whole process of building a high-quality curriculum so much faster and more effective.
And all of this brings us to one last thought. We've just seen how AI can be this incredibly powerful partner in designing learning. It really makes you wonder, right? As these tools get even smarter and more capable, how is that going to change the way we teach, the way we train, and the way we develop talent in the future? What parts of our job will we automate, and where will that human touch become even more critical than it already is?